All right. Are you ready to get started, Landon?
I am so ready.
Okay. Welcome to Moline Method Mic'd, our podcast. I'm Kelly Moline, functional medicine consultant, licensed pharmacist, wife, and new mom.
And I am Landon Moline, husband to Kelly Moline and father of little baby Danielle.
Yes, you touched your mic again.
I touched my mic, but it didn't move.
Okay.
So I don't think any sound's going to come out of it.
Okay, we'll see. Yeah, I'm a little tired. We usually record in the morning and we're recording in the afternoon because the day just got away from us.
Yep, it happens. It is what it is.
And I think we're entering a little bit of a sleep regression with our little girl. She is 6 months old, and I have the Wonder Weeks app, which tells me when her leaps are, when her fussy phases are, because she usually has a fussy phase or sleep regressions before she learns new skills or as she's learning new skills. And that app tells me we're like a day or two away. So very well could be. She's been harder to get down for naps and bedtime for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then, I think teething plays a role in it, but she's definitely been a little more fussy, a little hard to get to bed, just in general. She just wants to stay up with us and talk. And I think she's either a little early on this regression or a little late. I think every kid is different. Obviously, there's a schedule like a standard schedule that they have people follow or, to know what to expect. But every kid is different. So it's not all going to be on the same timeline.
It helps kind of knowing when to expect fussiness or a sleep regression. So I know I'm not crazy, but they're all their own and they're all human.
But I feel like you talk to some parents and they're like, my kid didn't really go through that, or I didn't really it wasn't that difficult, or you talk to one that just had the worst time with it. So I don't know. There's just different, everyone's experience is different.
That is true. And she is a much better sleeper than when we started coming home from the NICU. I remember there were weeks where she would get up every hour or two at night and we were really getting no sleep. But now she'll get up once a night usually, and that's a lot more doable.
Yeah.
But so we're hanging in there. It ebbs and flows, and I feel like it's always, as we get into our routine for one thing, it changes, and it's always something else, whether it's teething, sleep regression, change in schedule, we're off on a trip, whatever.
Yeah, I think that's the more difficult part, is that as soon as you finally get a routine down or something figured out, then she develops new senses, or she goes through a new phase, and it just kind of it changes on you. So you can't really, there's no getting a solid routine down, essentially.
And she's still new to the world, and someday I'm gonna look back at it and be like, wow, she just really needed me to comfort her for a few hours before going to sleep. A couple days ago when I got home from work, it took 3 hours to get her to bed because she just wanted to hang out with us and chit chat, and she usually goes to bed around 7, and she decided 10 p.m. was the time that night, but that's okay because we just need to be patient with it. And I enjoy the cuddles and getting to be that safety and security for her. And one day it'll be even sadder when she doesn't need us like that.
Yeah. It's also just super cute though, when you go, okay, I'm going to go feed her to sleep. And then she eats and kind of turns to you and goes, oh, did you think I was going to sleep right now? It's some girl time. We're going to hang out. Or I'll go in there and tap in, and she'll just want to talk to you and coo and say things and tell you about her day. It's adorable. So
it's so cute. Yeah. I work in the pharmacy one day a week typically, and so when I come home that night, it always just takes extra long to get her to sleep because she wants to tell me about her day, which is great.
She's like, oh, mom's home. We get to have some nice good girl time now and talk about how we thought the day went. So
she's so
those
cute.
nights are always the more difficult than the rest.
Yeah, just don't plan to have anything done.
Yep, pretty much.
Yes.
So yeah, so she's 6 months old now. We tried solids for the first time this week.
Yeah.
That was fun.
It's very exciting.
You see those videos on like Instagram if you follow us.
Yeah. I think I put more on TikTok, but yeah, I did put some on Instagram as well. You're not on TikTok, so you don't see those.
No, I'm not. So I'm only going to reference Instagram. No. But yeah, so you can talk about what you fed her.
Yeah. So we decided meat stock, specifically chicken stock, homemade chicken stock, was going to be her first food to help her gut health get started. And we referenced kind of our ideas on that a few episodes ago when we talked about leaky gut. So I made homemade meat stock, which you can buy like in the store as well, but you're going to have more nutritional value if you make it at home. If you make it yourself, you know the ingredients you're putting into it. It is fresh. I didn't add any extra spices or anything to flavor it more, especially because we're just starting out with her and we want to keep the ingredients simple because we don't exactly know if she's going to react to anything, but we want the nutrients from the chicken and the bones and the skin to give her the nutrients for her gut to help her gut set up for life, to help build a good gut lining, to say. Okay. So we started with the meat stock and then we moved on to some mashed avocado, and I still give her a little bit of meat stock before I give her the avocado just to help prime her gut and get it ready. And then I mix a little of the meat stock with the avocado, but we're starting really slow. I think what helped me is one of my friends who also is starting her baby with solids, made it seem like, it's not too big of a deal. Some days we're feeding them solids and some days we don't get to it, especially when starting. So that helped me mentally because I'm like, oh no, I'm already feeding her, like breastfeeding her multiple times a day, obviously, and now I have to add this on top of it and, do everything else. So it just felt overwhelming. And so just starting out slow and knowing that if I don't get to it every day, that's okay. And it'll just be fun for now and we'll work up to it.
Yeah. So she did not really go for the meat stock as much. She kind of gave us a look of what is this, but I think she's coming around to it slowly. And she did like the avocado though. She wanted more of that.
Yeah. Well, the meat stock was the first thing that she had that wasn't milk. So how surprising would that be?
She definitely had a look on her face that, well, hold on, this is not milk.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
And milk is a little sweeter and the meat stock really wasn't. And we're not starting with sweet things. So I'm sure that's a little surprising. But yeah, now that I feed her meat stock a little bit before the avocado, she'll take that and she doesn't give me the weird face like she used to.
Yeah, and she's pretty dramatic, so it's kind of funny because she really gives you a facial expression and lets you know exactly how she feels about what she's getting fed.
Yeah, I wouldn't say dramatic. I would say
theatrical.
Yeah, she has a lot of expressions.
Yeah, that's dramatic.
Oh. Yeah, so
agree to disagree. It's the same thing.
But yeah, I do want to do like baby-led weaning and that type of feeding process, but I'm going to slow down a little bit. She isn't sitting up as well as I'd hope by this point, which she did come a little bit early, and babies just develop at different speeds. So I'm going to wait until she's like sitting up a lot more independently before I think moving on to other things.
Got it. Is that just so she doesn't choke? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And I've heard that like when they have all of those signs of readiness, like sitting up independently, and then she's showing everything else, like really interested in food. She's teething. No teeth have popped yet, but we've had that. She doesn't push food out of her mouth anymore. But I just have heard that if they show all those signs, their guts are ready for food. But if they're not, their guts may not be ready. And I don't want to rush it now. Like,
Yeah,
there's no need to rush it.
that makes sense. So question though, do mothers or do you, is there like a sense of jealousy when you're like, I've been their food source for all of time up until now, and now something else is becoming their food source? Is there a sense of like I don't know, is there a sense of jealousy? I guess that might, I don't know if that's the right word, but
Yeah, it's
like
interesting.
you like being their sole source of food, but now something else could be, and so you're like, oh,
It is interesting because a month ago, I kind of was more like that, where I like being her sole source of food and being the one to provide that. But now I'm like, I still feel like I'm, making it, giving it to her. But now, like when other people give it to her, like it's a little tinge of jealousy, but now it's like fun to see her try those things. So I think I've moved on from that, but I do know like breast milk is still her sole source of nutrition, or whatever type of milk you're giving them before one, right? Is their sole source. So it's not replacing the milk, it's just like adding to it. But it is going to be weird one day when it's not, and we're then equals in a sense.
yeah, well,
Like I'm her like soul food and
yeah,
all of
that
that.
thought popped in my head, like, oh yeah, well, I mean, eventually when you're not breastfeeding anymore or giving her your milk, it's, and she's able to have other things instead
Yeah.
to supplement her nutrition. Yeah, I was like, oh, is there like some separation anxiety for the mothers then? I don't know.
It is my edge, but yeah.
Well, it's not a competition. Let's be honest, it is a competition. Who's she gonna
Yeah.
like more?
Well, her dad is pretty fun, so
You've got an unfair advantage right now with the milk.
Yeah.
So once we take that away, I feel like I'll gain some points.
Well, and I think everyone kind of wants to be the fun parent, but I've just come to I'm not, and that's okay. And I try to do fun things sometimes, but I'm like the nurturing parent, and that is more my natural instinct, where you are like that fun, goofy personality with her, which I think we all have our purposes and roles.
Yeah, I will say when I bring her into the nursery though, and like turn on the sound machine and all that, and dim the lights, she knows like I'm done for. I'm gonna have to like fall asleep, go to sleep, because it's very much like I go in there to put her to bed specifically. If we turn out the lights and all that, so I'm not as fun in that sense, but I do like having more like fun with her and interacting and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think those roles develop over time and it changes. So
Yeah, and I'm with her throughout the day, so it's really hard. And you're with her a lot too, but I'm like with her constantly a lot. So it's hard for me to like constantly be super fun all the time, right? Because I need to do housework and get other things done, or put her down, or feed her, or whatever too.
yeah, yep, it's true.
Yeah. But with all of that, so we're working on like her sleep and her gut health with her foods and everything. And so we're really working on her foundational health, even at 6 months old. And so that brings us into another discussion when we're talking about general health and foundational health. And keeping with homeostasis is the thyroid, which I told Landon I want to talk about the thyroid this week, and you're like, yeah, you always keep talking about the thyroid, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, you mention the thyroid all the time. I feel like, or I feel like I hear it a lot, and I have no idea what it is, what it does, and it seems to be a very like hot topic. So I was excited that you want to talk about that because I want to know about it myself.
Good. Yeah. I think we started a lot of episodes with different symptoms too. And okay, if you have this symptom, these are the things that can cause it, right? And so I've talked about thyroid in quite a few of those episodes because it can cause a lot of different symptoms that aren't super specific. So you may or may not have a thyroid issue. So we'll go into what the thyroid is and then some of those symptoms too.
Sounds good to me. So what is the thyroid? And also, I have a question. Do both men and women have thyroids? Or is it
Yes.
just women? Okay, I didn't know.
Yes.
Again, I am coming from zero knowledge of it. So.
Yes. It is a gland. So both men and women have thyroids. It sits in the base of your neck and it produces the thyroid hormone. So I would say I would say that more women have thyroid disorders than men do. And I did not look up that statistic, but working in a pharmacy for many years, I see a lot more women on thyroid replacement hormone, but doesn't mean that men can't have thyroid issues, because I've seen it in men as well. But I think women tend to have more autoimmune disorders or just disorders that can disrupt the thyroid. And maybe we can talk about why that is as well. But yeah, so the thyroid is a gland and it produces the thyroid hormone, which regulates your body. So it can regulate your temperature, your hormones, your metabolism, your energy, your mood. It keeps you at homeostasis, or at the regular how you should be the day to day. Keeps you healthy in a way. Okay. So a lot of people, I would say more people, have hypothyroidism, and hypo means not enough of, versus hyperthyroidism, which is too much. Hypothyroidism symptoms could be fatigue, depression, dry skin, constipation, hormone issues, cold body, especially like your extremities, weight gain. I see a lot of those symptoms with hypothyroidism, where the opposite, hyperthyroidism, too much of the thyroid hormone produced, causes weight loss, diarrhea, anxiety, fast heart rates or arrhythmias with the heart rate, sweating, bulging eyes. A lot of the time, Graves' disease is characterized by the bulging eyes. So they're opposite depending on how much or how little thyroid hormone is being produced or is working in the body. So that is the difference between hypo or hyperthyroidism. I would say, and again, I don't have this exact statistic, but just being in the pharmacy world, most people, probably 9 out of 10 cases, has more of the hypothyroidism. So if you're having thyroid issues, it tends to be your body isn't producing enough or not converting it into the active form like it should be, the hypothyroidism.
The active form of the thyroid hormone? Okay.
So, yeah, I can go into how the thyroid works and what I mean by all of that.
I think that would be good. Yep.
Okay. So, the thyroid hormone, so the thyroid gland is talking to different parts of the body. And so I'll go into how that all works and how we treat it a lot in regular medicine, or Western medicine, that it's kind of its own entity. And a lot of times we're like, oh, let's test your thyroid and we need thyroid medication, done and done. But the thyroid is talking to the rest of the body. So if the thyroid is signaling that something's wrong, there's typically other things wrong in the body. Okay. So the thyroid is connected to the hypothalamus and pituitary gland. So you may hear HPT axis, which means hypothalamus, pituitary, and thyroid gland. So they're talking to each other. So the hypothalamus is looking and feeling how the body is doing, and then it signals to the pituitary gland how much thyroid hormone it sees in the body, and then the pituitary gland signals to the thyroid whether or not to produce thyroid hormone. So most doctors, when they test the thyroid, they'll test for TSH, which stands for thyroid stimulating hormone, and that actually comes from the pituitary gland. So if you have a lot of TSH that you're testing or that you see, that means that the body is seeing that there's low thyroid, and so it's telling the thyroid gland to produce a lot of thyroid hormone. So that's when you see a lot of TSH. And so then the thyroid gland will produce the thyroid hormone, predominantly T4, which is the thyroid hormone, and a little bit of T3. But T4 is known as the inactivated thyroid hormone, or the storage form of the thyroid hormone, and then it has to convert to T3, or the active version of the thyroid hormone. And that conversion happens all over the body. It happens in the gut, in the liver, the uterus, all over the body. So that's more on a cellular level a lot of the time, where the cells have to do the process of converting from the inactive T4 to the active T3, which again regulates how the body is acting, whether that's temperature, hormones, mood, how you are losing weight or keeping on weight, how you are, what your energy looks like, all of that. So my analogy, let's bring this in and see if this
give
works.
me a picture, because that's a lot of information.
On how they relate to each other. So the hypothalamus is like your thermometer assessing how your body is.
Is that in the brain?
That's in the brain. So the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland are both in the brain. And then the thyroid gland is in the base of a neck. It looks kind of like a butterfly.
Okay, got it.
And so the hypothalamus is your thermometer. And then your pituitary gland is your thermostat. So if your body is cold, and it reads that with the thermometer, and then the thermostat will tell the thyroid gland, which is the heater, to kick on the heat. Okay.
Got it.
So the thyroid hormone, the T4 and the T3, is the heat itself.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
So when doctors test for like low or high thyroid hormone in the body, how does that go?
Okay, so when a doctor tests for thyroid, a lot of time they're just looking at the TSH, which is the thyroid stimulating hormone, or just looking at what that thermometer looks like. And for instance, if we're still using the heater thermometer analogy, they're seeing that we need more heat, but they're not questioning why the heater is broken. Okay, they instead are just helping provide more heat from an outside source. So that's what like the medication is doing. Okay, so most of the time T4 is prescribed, which is a medication called Synthroid, or generic is levothyroxine, and that is most of the time what is prescribed for hypothyroidism. And rather than going, why is the thyroid not working? They say, oh, the thyroid seems to be low, so here is thyroid hormone. But essentially, instead of fixing your heater in your house, you're just providing a space heater in the room. And so the thermometer itself, or the thermometer and the thermostat, looks like, oh, now we have heat, now we're good. Okay, so the doctors say, yep, you're fine. All the levels look fine now. And by all the levels, they usually look at TSH. Sometimes they'll look a little bit further, and I do like further labs than just that. But typically they'll look at TSH and say, yep, we're now in range. But we just provided a space heater, so your whole house may not be necessarily warm, and then the heater itself may still be broken for whatever reason. And we want to find out why that heater is broken, or why that thyroid gland either isn't producing enough thyroid, or some of the time, I would say a lot of the time, the case is the thyroid gland is producing enough, but at the cellular level, it's not converting it correctly from that T4 to the T3.
Okay, so the thyroid could be working correctly, but it's just not being converted by the cells from T4 to T3. And so if they are just looking at, oh, you need more thyroid hormones, so they're giving you a prescription for thyroid medication, can that prevent, like if you're using it long term, can that all of a sudden cause your thyroid, which is the main heater, to then produce less just because it's getting it from another source? So it's like, oh, we don't need to produce as much.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So
That can be bad, right?
It can be bad. Yeah. Because your body is then relying on the external source rather than producing it itself, especially over a long period of time. It's like a muscle that you never use again. So then it just, in a way, kind of wastes away a little bit. So yes, that can be what happens over long term. I don't want anyone who's taking thyroid medication just to all of a sudden stop it, because you can feel really, really bad from that. And that may not be the right course for you, especially if you're not testing and making sure you have all the other things. But I do encourage you to get to more of the root cause of why the thyroid isn't seeming to be working, or why those levels are all of a sudden off.
Gotcha.
Because what happens a lot of the time is the thyroid is like the coal miner's canary. Do you know what I mean by that?
No.
So back in the day, coal miners used to bring canaries down to the coal mine with them. And when there was too much CO2 in the air, or the air became too dangerous to breathe over a long while, the canaries would pass out or die. And so that would tell the coal miners that they needed to get out too, because the canaries would go out before the people did. So it was a sign to them that something was wrong. So the thyroid is signaling that something is wrong, and it's a lot of the times one of the first things to go out in the body, but it doesn't mean that it's a standalone issue. It typically means something else is causing that. And a lot of different things can cause the thyroid to not work like we want it to work, but it doesn't mean that there's something necessarily wrong with the body. It's just how the body responds. Okay.
That makes sense. So I guess so then you want to go into testing then, or like how you would
So I want to go into what those root causes could be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, so I would say most of the time, a root cause of the thyroid being suppressed could be from an adrenal dysfunction or cortisol too high, because those are related. Okay, so when cortisol goes up, or your body is under fight or flight, your body is then thinking we need to use all of our resources for fight or flight. We need to run from the tiger or whatever that is. And it then does not use its resources for rest, recovery, digestion, or thyroid, right? So I have a lot of women that may be stressed, and they're like, I don't know why I'm gaining weight, or I can't lose weight, and now my thyroid is off. Well, we need to talk about our central nervous system, and we need to talk about letting our cortisol simmer for a little bit and balancing that and balancing our hormones, because our thyroid is naturally going to be suppressed until we get that figured out. Okay, that's not a bad thing. That's how our body is designed, but we need to understand that that's how our body is designed to then get our body working functionally. Rather than just saying, oh, we're stressed and our cortisol is high and now our thyroid's going low, so now we need to give thyroid medication.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that's one reason. Other reasons could be gut infections, toxins, hormone imbalances, medication, a lot of different things. So yeah. So if you inflammation too. So if you uncover, I guess, the root cause, you're going to get better results for your thyroid medication, and you may need less thyroid medication, or you may be more stable over a long period of time, rather than your thyroid always going up and down in the testing, or you feeling like it's working sometimes and not working others. Okay. And then other things that could be happening to are conversion issues. Again, we talked about the T4 to T3. So nutrient deficiencies could be a big thing with that too. Nutrients like selenium, zinc, iron, iodine, magnesium, B12, all of those have help the thyroid hormone convert from T4 to T3. So if you don't have a lot of those nutrients or you're not absorbing them properly, maybe you have leaky gut. See how it all plays in role again. So we want to make sure that we are getting everything that we need to help the body convert properly. So addressing the root cause, and it may be more than one root cause, will help your thyroid down the line too. But thyroid medication can help stable your body quicker, and especially the short term, but I guess it's up to you and your doctor if that means long term.
Gotcha. But it sounds like it's always in your best interest, whether you're taking thyroid medication already or not, to make sure that you are looking at the big picture and is everything else working properly so that my thyroid is operating at its functional level.
Yes. Yes. And so when our question is like, okay, I'm having all these symptoms, maybe I'm having the weight gain that I can't lose, and I'm fatigued, and I may have depression symptoms, dry skin, whatever that is, right? If I have some of these symptoms and I'm wondering if it's a thyroid issue, because sometimes they are more vague symptoms and you're not sure, you can ask your doctor to do some testing, and it's pretty simple. It's a blood test, and I would ask for more functional testing, more tests than just a TSH.
More comprehensive testing.
More comprehensive testing, yes. So we talked about TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone, and then also I would get total T4, T3, and then free T4, T3, reverse T3, and antibodies.
Are those all tests?
Those are all levels that they're going to look at in a blood test.
Okay,
Yeah.
so those are things that they're testing for.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And then the doctor can look at them, and then there's typically like a lab range or reference range, and then there's more of an optimal range. So they may look at, okay, from 0 to 50 is our reference range, but from 20 to 30 is like our optimal range. I'm throwing numbers out there that's nowhere clear. That's nowhere near actual like thyroid numbers, but I'm just giving you an example of what a reference range versus optimal range may look like.
Got it.
Yeah. So further testing can help shed light if you have a thyroid issue, and then looking at that test with more functional medicine eyes, where we're looking for optimal test results, can help. And then you may be prescribed thyroid medication if needed. But again, I think that's kind of the quick answer. And this is where functional medicine really started to make sense to me, where rather than just saying, okay, the thyroid is low, so we're giving thyroid hormone. And then some other functional medicine providers will say, okay, the thyroid is low, I'm going to do some more testing. And so rather than just the T4, I'm going to give you T4 and T3. And maybe they're doing a more natural alternative, or they're doing a compounded version that doesn't have dyes or fillers like a lot of the manufactured ones do. They may use a compounding pharmacy, so we do that a lot in my pharmacy. But one step further to that is saying, why did the thyroid, or why isn't the thyroid working properly, or why isn't it showing in the body that it's working properly? And then uncovering that root cause along with possible thyroid medication, because then we can utilize thyroid medication for a shorter term and not necessarily lifelong.
Yeah.
For some people.
You're healing the symptom. You're healing the root cause of the problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty of functional medicine to me.
Yes. So did you want to talk more about testing, or is that all you had on testing?
I think that was The most I had on testing. I will say what I'm talking about today with the thyroid is a very high level overview. And so when I'm talking about all these different tests, yes, I can go into what they all mean and why we're testing for each one and how it works in the body. But I think for the most part, that can be a little overwhelming, and we can get into something more like that possibly in the future if people want to know. But just to keep it a little more simple of how the thyroid works, that's what we're looking for. But we could get into testing or autoimmune diseases, Hashimoto's, gluten, how all that can play into it as well, maybe later.
Yeah, okay. So just to clarify, so I know I'm understanding it correctly, the thyroid produces a thyroid hormone. It's a gland in your neck. And basically, it's one of the first things to go out. And if it does go out, you can be, or if it's not functioning properly, you can experience things like mood changes, weight gain, anxiety, energy levels are odd or off, things like that. So a lot of different symptoms that it can cause. But basically, when it's working properly, those things are usually at a normal, I don't know, what do you call it? Working at a normal capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Does that kind of sum it up?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of things that can cause the thyroid to go out.
Yeah.
Did we talk about maybe we already talked about what can cause the thyroid to go out?
Yep. So mostly we can talk about, so I talked about things that can suppress the thyroid hormone from being produced, like cortisol, especially, but cortisol could have a lot of different reasons why that's up, whether that's stress, whether that's toxins, whether that's a gut infection. There's a lot of reasons why that cortisol is high in the first place, so that in itself can have its own root cause, but that could be a reason why the thyroid hormone isn't being produced, or could be reasons why the thyroid hormone isn't being converted on the cellular level into the active T3.
Okay,
And
so
that could be that could be the nutrient deficiencies, or that could be stress or inflammation itself. And then another thing could be an autoimmune disorder. So typically hypothyroidism, autoimmune disorder just means the body is attacking itself for some reason. And so Hashimoto's is the body is attacking the thyroid or creating antibodies that attack the thyroid. So when that happens, it produces damage to the thyroid, and then or may not be as much coming back from that damage. And so that could be a reason why your body can't produce more thyroid hormone, because the thyroid itself has damage.
Okay, gotcha. So that kind of sums that up. Is there, I guess, so you said that the thyroid's one of the first things to go out. So how common is it? Like, how common is it to have thyroid issues? I mean, do a lot of people deal with it? Is it a certain age group that more commonly sees thyroid issues?
Yeah, so we talked about at the beginning how I see a lot of women.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say I see women from all ages, but sometimes it starts as early as 20s or 30s, but I'd say probably more often it starts a little bit later, maybe 30s or 40s. And when we talk about stress and autoimmune conditions and how cortisol or everything takes into play, more women deal with autoimmune conditions than men. That's a known fact. But I think women tend to multitask and put a lot on their plate, and then are dealing with a lot at one time, but still suppress it. And so these things just kind of snowball, and then they get more conditions like thyroid conditions and autoimmune diseases and stuff like that. I see more women in my practice and a lot of them do have thyroid issues. But I will say I've worked in a pharmacy for a while, and it is our top medication by a landslide, levothyroxine, which is the thyroid medication.
Well,
So when I say a lot of people have thyroid issues, I really mean a lot of people deal with thyroid issues.
yeah, that explains why I hear you mentioning it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
But I do think, just reiterating, we see thyroid hormone, let's replace it. Or we see that the thyroid is low, let's replace it with thyroid hormone. And it seems to be done there. And then over time, again, we talked about how your own thyroid production gets suppressed from that. And so you may need more thyroid hormone, need higher doses as time goes on. So I don't think that is the end all be all. And there's more to the picture, more to the problem than that. So that's, again, why I like to talk about it with people so that they know.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of people are prescribed like a quick fix Band-Aid approach instead of actually figuring out why the heater is out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. Anything else you would like to talk through when it comes to thyroid?
I feel like that was a lot on the thyroid. So,
Yes.
but do you understand the thyroid a little bit more now?
Yeah, I think I do. I tried to recap it just to make sure like I understood
Yeah.
Like,
It sounds like you do. So that's
what's
good.
happening. I know a lot more about it than I did. I don't know that I could remember the T2, T3, T4 and things that they might test for specifically. That might be over my head. But as far as like the general sense of what it does, I'm glad you stuck to the high level overview because it was almost over my head. So I don't want to go much deeper than that.
That's fine.
I'll let you and other doctors know the deeper stuff. But in general, I think I get understanding of I've got a good understanding of what it does and, symptoms that to look out for for it.
And I have a lot of people coming to me, especially women, that they're saying, I think my thyroid is off. Can you test my thyroid? I want to make sure my thyroid is good. Again, because I have a lot of people with fatigue or weight gain or common symptoms like that. So I do test for thyroid, and I like to look at it at more of that functional lens, looking for those optimal levels. But we're just going to help the thyroid work better if we're addressing the cortisol, gut health, all of those things. So if we're constantly stressed about everything in our lives, that's not helping our thyroid either. So we need to, again, those recurring functional medicine advice that I give, which is, the eating good, sleeping well, exercising, all of those tidbits of advice.
But then, if you're doing all that and you're still dealing with issues, or even if you're not doing all the things that make you feel better, I think additional testing besides just testing the thyroid would be good to do.
For sure.
Sounds like. Cool. Well, we have a Q&A. We had one specific question that was actually related to the thyroid, so I wanted to go over that one for sure. It is, would it ever be possible to heal your thyroid or bring it back to normal so that one wouldn't need to be on thyroid medication?
Yeah, so I do get that question a lot, and I think that is very valid. So it really just depends on why your thyroid is being suppressed, where if we're talking in actual healing because there is damage to the thyroid or part of the thyroid was surgically removed, that can be harder to come back from, and you may need to be on thyroid medication for life. But if your thyroid was suppressed because of high cortisol levels, gut infection, etc., and we fix that root cause and you're on a thyroid medication for maybe a shorter amount of time, that is something that you can potentially get off of and not need in the future because you address those root causes.
Gotcha. So it can be fixed as long as it's not like removed or damaged in a way.
Mm-hmm. With the asterisk, right?
Yes.
Can be fixed, asterisk.
Asterisks, right?
I don't know.
Okay, sounds good. So, that answers that question.
Yay.
Cool. All right, should we move on to dad joke of the day?
Yes, of course. Our listeners love it.
do they? Okay.
I wasn't being sarcastic. I actually do
That
get that a
sounded
lot.
kind of sarcastic. Maybe that was the joke. Okay, no. All right, here it comes. Why don't football players wear glasses?
Because they have to keep their eye on the ball.
It's a contact sport.
That's great.
Get it? Contact in your eye.
Yeah. You are so excited for football. I can tell.
Football is about a month out now, and so I saw this one and I had to do it because I'm excited.
Yes, I believe it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's a long season, but not long enough for Landon.
No, football could be an all year round sport. I love it. All right. Well, thanks for listening today.
Where can they find us, Landon?
You can find us on Instagram at Moline Method. You can visit our website, molinmethod.com. Apparently, you can go on TikTok. I don't have one, but I don't know where you find us on TikTok. Is it
at Moline Method?
At Moline Method. There you go. But yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And let us know if you want specific topics covered in the future or if you have questions.
Send in those questions on our Instagram.
Yep. All right. I think that is it. All right. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.